langchaintogether chat models. This system combines multiple chains of chat models to generate a final output based on user input. User input provides the initial input to the system, captures user input and passes it to chain 1. Chain 1, the first chain of chat models, processes user input and generates an output. Chat model e.g., OpenAI GPT-3. Data flow passes its output to the first chat model. Chat model e.g., OpenAI GPT-3. A large language model used for generating text. Generates text based on the input from chain 1. Combined output. Data flow sends its output to the combined output component. Chain 2. The second chain of chat models, processes the output of chain 1 and generates its own output. Chat model e.g., Google Palm 2. Data flow passes its output to the second chat model. Chat model e.g., Google Palm 2. Another large language model, generates text based on the input from chain 2. Combined output. Data flow sends its output to the combined output component. Chain 3. The third chain of chat models, processes the output of chain 2 and generates its own output. Chat model e.g., Meta Llama 2. Data flow passes its output to the third chat model. Chat model e.g., Meta Llama 2. Yet another large language model, generates text based on the input from chain 3. Combined output. Data flow sends its output to the combined output component. Combined output combines the outputs of all chat models, aggregates the outputs from all the chat models and passes the combined output to LangChain. Together. LangChaintogether orchestration orchestrates the execution of the chains and chat models, receives the combined output from the chat models, processes it further, and produces the final output. Final output. Data flow passes the final output to the final output component. Final output. The final output generated by the system presents the final output to the user. User input is processed sequentially through the chains of chat models, with each chain's output being fed to the next chain. The outputs from all the chat models are then combined, processed by LangChaintogether, and presented as the final output. The system follows a sequential control flow, starting with user input and progressing through each chain of chat models. LangChaintogether coordinates the execution of the chains and the chat models, ultimately producing the final output. Text retrieval system. This system retrieves relevant documents based on user queries. Text input receives user input in the form of text, collects the query from the user. Query text. Text preprocessing performs initial cleaning and transformation on text, cleans and prepares both query and document text for further processing. Query text, document text. Preprocessed query text, preprocessed document text. Embeddings model converts text into numerical representations, transforms text into vector representations, known as embeddings, allowing for similarity comparisons. Preprocessed query text, preprocessed document text. Query embeddings, document embeddings. Document embeddings database stores vector representations of documents, houses pre-computed document embeddings. Document embeddings. Document embeddings for similarity search. Similarity search identifies documents most similar to the query, calculates the similarity between query embeddings and document embeddings stored in the database. Query embeddings, document embeddings. Ranked list of documents based on similarity. Retrieved documents. Provides access to the retrieved documents. Retrieves the documents identified as most relevant to the query. Ranked list of documents. Retrieved documents Output. Displays the retrieved documents to the user. Presents the relevant documents to the user. Retrieved documents. Text input. Text preprocessing. Data flow. The query text from the user is passed to the text preprocessing component. Text preprocessing. Embeddings model. Data flow. The preprocessed query text is converted into query embeddings. Document embeddings database. Similarity search. Data flow. Document embeddings from the database are used for similarity calculation. Embeddings model. Similarity search. Data flow. Query embeddings are compared to document embeddings. Similarity search. Retrieved documents. Data flow. The ranked list of documents, based on similarity scores, is provided to the document retrieval component. Retrieved documents. Output. Data flow. The retrieved documents are displayed to the user. Together embeddings. Input. Provides a list of texts as input to the system. Receives text data and passes it to the embeddings component. Receives text data, sends it to the embeddings component. Embeddings. Generates embeddings for each text input. Embeds each input text, stores the embeddings, and supports vector stores. Receives text data from the input component. Generates embeddings, stores embeddings, and provides access to vector stores. Output. Data. Out. Sends generated embeddings to the output component. Output. Provides the embeddings for each text as output. Receives embeddings from the embeddings component and outputs them to the user. Receives embeddings from the embeddings component and provides them as output. Langchaintogether. A system that combines multiple large language models (LLMs) to enhance capabilities and handle complex tasks. LLMs. A collection of LLMs LLM1, LLM2, LLM3, etc. Responsible for generating text, translating languages, writing different kinds of creative content, and answering your questions in an informative way. Process text and generate responses based on their trained data and prompt instructions. Receive prompts from the chain manager, process them, and send outputs back to the chain manager. Managed by the chain manager to determine which LLM is best suited for a specific task. Chain manager. The central orchestrator of the LLM system. It manages the flow of data and controls the execution of the overall chain. Receives input. Selects appropriate LLMs based on the task at hand. Manages the interaction between LLMs. And generates the final output. Receives input from the input component. Sends prompts to LLMs. Gathers outputs from LLMs. And forwards the final output to the output component. Decides the order of LLM calls. Handles error scenarios. And implements any necessary feedback mechanisms. Input. The entry point for user requests or data. Collects user input or data from external sources. Transmits the collected input to the chain manager for processing. Acts as a passive component, simply providing data to the chain manager. Output. The endpoint for presenting results to the user or other systems. Formats and delivers the final output generated by the LLMs. Receives processed data from the chain manager and displays it in a suitable format. Acts as a passive component, simply receiving data from the chain manager. Prompt engineering. Responsible for crafting effective prompts that guide the LLMs to generate desired outputs. Formulates prompts that optimize the performance and accuracy of LLMs. Receives input from the chain manager. Modifies it into a tailored prompt. And sends it to the selected LLM. Operates under the control of the chain manager, providing prompt construction support. Data processing. Handles any pre-processing of data before it is presented to the LLMs or post-processing of the LLM. Outputs. Prepares input data for consumption by LLMs and modifies LLM outputs for presentation. Receives data from the prompt engineering component, modifies it as needed, and passes it to the LLM or receives LLM outputs. Processes them, and forwards them to the output formatting component. Operates under the control of the chain manager, managing data transformations as required. Knowledge retrieval. Searches external knowledge sources to provide contextual information for the LLMs. Retrieves relevant information from external databases, knowledge bases, or search engines to augment LLM responses. Receives prompts from the chain manager, searches relevant knowledge sources, and provides the retrieved information to the LLM. Operates under the control of the chain manager, responding to requests for external knowledge. Task execution. Executes tasks that require external tools or APIs based on LLM instructions. Interacts with external APIs, tools, or systems to carry out tasks instructed by the LLMs. Receives instructions from the LLM. Interacts with external systems, and sends the results back to the LLM. Operates under the control of the LLM, serving as an intermediary for external task execution. Output formatting. Ensures the final output is presented in a user-friendly and appropriate format. Formats LLM outputs into a presentable structure, like text, tables, or visualizations. Receives LLM outputs. Applies formatting rules, and sends the formatted output to the output validation component. Operates under the control of the chain manager, ensuring consistent output formatting. Output validation. Verifies the quality and correctness of the generated output. Evaluates the quality of the LLM output, checking for accuracy, consistency, and adherence to user expectations. Receives formatted output, performs validation checks, and sends any feedback to the chain feedback component. Operates under the control of the chain manager, acting as a quality gate for the output. Chain feedback. Provides feedback to the chain manager to improve the overall performance of the chain. Analyzes the validation results and provides insights to the chain manager for chain optimization. Receives validation results, analyzes the data, and sends feedback to the chain manager for improving future executions. Operates under the control of the chain manager, serving as a feedback loop for the system. Chain optimization. Modifies the chain based on feedback to improve performance and accuracy. Adjusts the chain's configuration, including the order of LLM calls, prompt engineering, and data processing steps, to enhance its efficiency. Receives feedback from the chain feedback component. Adjusts the chain parameters, and updates the chain manager for future executions. Operates under the control of the chain manager, actively improving the chain based on feedback. Chain monitoring. Tracks the performance of the chain and identifies potential issues. Monitors the chain's execution, collecting metrics and identifying any performance bottlenecks or errors. Collects performance data from the chain's execution and sends alerts or reports to the chain. Security component. Operates as a separate entity, independently monitoring the chain's health. Chain security. Ensures the security and integrity of the chain. Implements security measures to prevent unauthorized access, data breaches, or malicious attacks. Receives security alerts from the chain monitoring component. Investigates potential threats, and implements mitigation strategies. Operates as a separate entity, actively safeguarding the chain's security. LLM selection. Chooses the most suitable LLM for the specific task. evaluates the capabilities of different LLMs and selects the best one based on the tasks. Requirements. Receives prompts from the chain manager. Assesses the LLMs based on their strengths and weaknesses. And recommends the best suited LLM. Operates under the control of the chain manager, acting as an LLM selection advisor. The system functions through a hierarchical structure. The chain manager acts as the central hub, coordinating the actions of all other components. It receives input, determines the appropriate LLMs to use, manages their execution, and produces the final output. Input. Chain manager provides user input or data. Chain manager. LLM selection requests LLM selection based on the input. LLM selection. Chain manager recommends the most suitable LLM. Chain manager. LLMs sends prompts to LLMs for processing. LLMs. Chain manager returns outputs to the chain manager. Chain manager. Prompt engineering requests prompt engineering based on the input. Prompt engineering. Chain manager provides tailored prompts to the LLMs. Chain manager. Data processing requests pre-processing of input data. Data processing. LLMs provides pre-processed input to the LLMs. LLMs. Data processing sends outputs to data processing for post-processing. Chain manager. Knowledge retrieval requests knowledge retrieval based on the input. Knowledge retrieval. LLMs provides retrieved knowledge to the LLMs. LLMs. Task execution issues instructions for task execution. Task execution. LLMs returns results of task execution. Data processing. Output formatting provides processed outputs to output formatting. Output formatting. Output validation sends formatted output to output validation. Output validation. Chain feedback provides validation results for feedback. Chain feedback. Chain optimization provides feedback for chain optimization. Chain optimization. Chain manager updates the chain manager with optimized configuration. Chain manager. Output sends the final output to the output component. Chain monitoring. Chain security provides monitoring data and alerts. Langchaintogether. This system uses multiple chains of language models LLMs to achieve a complex language task. LLMs. A collection of language models, each capable of processing natural language and generating text. Chain. A sequence of modules designed to work together to accomplish a specific language task. Module. A unit that performs a specific language processing operation, typically involving an LLM. Receive prompt. Takes a prompt from the previous module or the initial input. Execute LLM. Passes the prompt to an LLM and receives its output. Process output. May modify the LLM output before passing it to the next module. Send output. Transmits the processed output to the subsequent module or, in the case of the final module, to the system's output. The output of each module in a chain becomes the input to the next module. The chain's final output represents the result of the complete chain. The execution flow within a chain follows a linear sequence. Progressing from the first module to the last, each module processes the input, performs its operation, and passes the output to the next module in line. The output of one chain can be used as input to another chain, allowing chains to be combined to achieve more complex tasks. Chains can be executed in parallel, allowing for faster completion of tasks that can be broken down into independent subtasks. Data flows through the system in the form of natural language text, starting with an initial prompt and ending with the final output. The execution flow is controlled by the system's architecture, which defines the order in which chains are executed and how their outputs are integrated to achieve the desired outcome. Chooses from OpenAI, Google, Hugging Face, or custom models. Allows customization of model parameters and settings. Loads data from various sources files, databases, APIs. Cleans, transforms, and processes data for model interaction. Applies data augmentation techniques to enhance training data. Designs and crafts effective prompts to guide model responses. Utilizes structured prompts, multiple prompts, or chain prompts for complex tasks. Experiments with different prompt styles and formats to optimize output. Constructs chains of steps involving multiple models or actions. Uses different chain types, e.g., sequential, parallel, map for managing complex workflows. Leverages chain components, e.g., retriever, question answering for specific functionalities. Fine-tunes pre-trained models on domain-specific data to improve performance. Leverages techniques like transfer learning for specialized task adaptation. Utilizes Upstage's model training infrastructure for efficient and scalable fine-tuning. Evaluates and compares the performance of different fine-tuned models. Selects the best performing fine-tuned model for deployment. Integrates fine-tuned models into LangChain workflows seamlessly. Evaluates model performance using relevant metrics, e.g., accuracy, recall, F1 score. Monitors model performance over time to detect potential degradation or bias. Implements feedback loops for continuous model performance improvement. Deploys fine-tuned models to a production environment, e.g., cloud, on-premise. Integrates deployed models into existing applications or workflows. Manages model updates and rollbacks effectively. Provides a user interface for interaction with the model. Handles user input text, voice, images. Delivers model responses text, code, images. Manages conversation history. Offers chatbot personalization and customization. Integrates with external systems, e.g., APIs, databases. Addresses security and privacy considerations. Monitors and analyzes user behavior. Ensures scalability and performance optimization. Focuses on continuous improvement and iterative development. Collects user feedback and performs sentiment analysis. Provides data visualization and reporting. Considers user experience UX design factors. Integrates with existing communication channels, e.g., Slack, email. Framework for building and deploying powerful language models. Provides a unified API for interacting with various LLM providers. Includes text, code, images, documents, etc. Utilizes OpenAI, Google, Hugging Face, etc. Provides instructions for the LLM. The output generated by the LLM. LangChain Upstage embeddings. Data source. Provides the text data that needs to be processed. Provides text to be converted to embeddings. Embeddings. Transforms text data into numerical representations, embeddings. Converts text data into numerical vectors, embeddings. Upstage. An embedding model that converts text into embeddings. Generates embeddings from text data. LangChain. A framework for building and deploying language AI applications. Provides a framework for integrating Upstage embeddings into various applications. Vector database. Stores and retrieves embeddings for efficient similarity search. Stores embeddings and performs efficient similarity search on them. Data source. Embeddings. The data source provides text data to the embeddings component. Embeddings. Upstage. The embeddings component uses Upstage to generate embeddings from the text data. Upstage. LangChain. The upstage component provides embeddings to LangChain for integration into applications. LangChain, vector database. LangChain interacts with the vector database to store and retrieve embeddings. Query. Embeddings. A query is provided to the embeddings component to generate its embedding. Embeddings. Vector database. The query embedding is used for similarity search in the vector database. Vector database. Similarity search. The vector database performs similarity search based on the query embedding. Similarity search. Results. The results of the similarity search are returned to the user. LangChain upstage embeddings. This system provides embedding functionality for LangChain using Upstage's embedding API. Upstage embeddings. Class. The main class that provides the embedding methods and properties. Embed query. Embeds a given query text into a numerical representation. Embed documents. Embeds a list of documents into numerical representations. API key. API key for accessing Upstage's embedding service. Model name. Name of the embedding model to use. Embedding type. Type of embedding to perform, e.g., text, code. Model version. Version of the embedding model to use. Upstage embedding service. API call. Sends requests to Upstage's embedding service to perform embedding operations. Upstage embedding service. External service. Provides embedding functionality via an API. The Upstage embeddings class interacts with the Upstage embedding service through API calls. It sends text or documents to the service for embedding and receives back numerical representations of the input. The embedding results are then used by other components of the LangChain system for tasks such as semantic search or question answering. The Upstage embeddings class provides methods for performing embedding operations. When a user calls the embed query or embed documents methods, the class prepares the input data and sends it to the Upstage embedding service. The service processes the data and returns the embeddings. The Upstage embeddings class then returns the embeddings to the user. The example usage section illustrates how to instantiate the Upstage embeddings class. Set the API key and call the embedding methods to generate embeddings for queries and documents.